Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the second edition of the 2300 Pod. Nate Maxon here with you from the We Can't Wrestle podcast, along with my brother Aaron. Aaron, how's it going?
Good.
All right, and Chad Austin of ECW is here with us.
As we
chronicle the history of ECW. We did the episode last week from April 6th of 1993. It wasn't terrible. Now we got this week's show from April 13th of 1993, and it might be a little different story. But before we do that, before we get into this week's show, because of some discussion we had last week, I did some research. Now, I didn't go to the Library of Congress or anything, but I did do a little Googling, and I found out our mystery about Stevie Wonderful. Stevie Wonderful was not a wrestling guy, actually. Apparently, his name is Steve Truitt. And he was actually
he's a registered sex offender.
he was actually the first sound guy for ECW when Todd Gordon and his other business partner started it up. I found this article online about the business history of ECW. So there you go. There's the answer. Stevie Wonderful was the sound guy.
Where would you rate him then, as far as how his work was compared to who else was on the show? Because we thought he was a worker, right?
Right, and I thought about that too. Like, actually, for a guy that was just moonlighting as an announcer, now not too shabby, really, an indie announcer.
He was every bit as credible as the Sandman or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, seriously, Chris Davis or Chris Michaels. I can't wait to get into that one.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that want to pause the show and go find this show on the WWE Network or YouTube or wherever you watch it. If you want to watch it first, it's April 13th, 1993. And Aaron, I'll let you start us off with the intro here.
Well, I put the awkward Jay Sully and the great unknown Stevie Wonderful open the show, but now he's not great or unwonderful or unknown. But they open the show, and it's kind of a clunky little opening, and Jay Sully seems confused like he always does, and Stevie Wonderful just does his thing, and then Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert comes out, and Stevie Wonderful declares him the king of the Texas Death Match.
And Stevie Wonderful's the authority to make a proclamation like this, right,
yes.
Guys?
I had written down that I said Gilbert is not at his best here. Like, everything to me just seemed like it was just so rushed. Like, he was in a hurry to get this thing over.
Sully forgets how to use a microphone, like, during the whole thing. He's holding the microphone, but he doesn't even, he's talking to Gilbert, but he's holding the microphone down by his fucking pec. And then, they're trying to do their thing, and Sully has no fucking idea what's going on. This fucking opening segment's a fucking train wreck.
I wrote that Funk was great because he dumped the Perrier water on Gilbert, and Gilbert sold it like it was, thumbtack or something.
Yeah, like it was battery acid, yeah.
And I was like, this is already going out of control. And it's with Eddie Gilbert and Terry Funk, and it's like Funk, I think Funk had no idea what he was doing there. Honestly, he just the whole entire show. We'll get into it as we talk about the show, but he just seems like he had no idea.
Yeah, he's just there for the ride, man. Yeah. And I did. I don't know if you guys disagree, but I did like the little needling heel of Eddie saying "my people." I did like that.
Yeah, like Eddie and Terry did a great job, but just fucking Sully, he didn't hold the mic where he needed to hold it, and it came off as just a clusterfuck, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was all kinds of not good with that, and it's with fucking Gilbert, so you don't have any idea, like I said, I think Gilbert just rushed everything, he had to make it quick, kind of thing.
Right, we've got 4 minutes for TV. And
we got to get this over real quick. We got to do this angle. Yeah, I got you. So that was Funk. That was Funk being brought in as the real special co-host. All right. So then we moved on to Johnny Hotbody versus Glenn Osborne, and if I'm not mistaken, that was a tournament match for the TV title, right?
It was, and I think
Johnny Hotbody weighs 300 pounds. counting his ego.
Right.
What a gimmick.
And is there any, like, I might be wrong, but it's like Johnny Hotbody, when I look at him, is there any more of like an East Coast indie 90s guy than Johnny Hotbody?
Yeah, keep watching the rest of the show. they're all the same guy. I mean, like, but literally, I'm watching the show going.
He just exudes that to me. Like he just, yeah.
I wrote down that this had to be the first match of the TV taping that night because this was every first match at an indie show I've ever seen.
Pretty much in Jersey or the East Coast, I bet you, like, they are sold show guys. They're guys that are on them shows that like the corporations buy,
yeah.
And they're on that show because they're big, they look like wrestlers, blah blah blah. Well, they're just them guys. I wrote like, who is the ref? And I wrote at one point, what the fuck is Terry Funk saying? Because he was saying something about Glenn Osborne like taking too many 2 counts. And then the 3 count might accidentally slip in. And I'm just like, what show are you watching, Terry?
And to me, Glenn Osborne looks like Glenn Osborne is built like a huge midget. Like he looks like a midget, like a super tall midget to me.
I wrestled him one time. I mean, I don't have no problem with him. I wrestled him one time, and he was a big dude. And I gave him the arm wringer from a lockup, and he literally told me to lighten up, brother. And I just was like, what? I mean, look at you and look at me. I mean, seriously.
But to me, that's just how he looked to me. Like he has like stubby little arms and a big forehead, and he just looked like a super tall midget.
Like CeeLo Green.
Did you make a note about the awful ref bump?
I did not.
Oh but my god! Where he threw like Hotbody into the corner, and he came out and he ducked, and Osborne was way too close to the corner that he had to run to hit the referee to clothesline him.
Now, what I did actually, that may have been what I wrote. Why I wrote this this note that I have here, because I remember you last week talking about this ring, like this ring being smaller, and I noticed these guys, it seemed like they were like half a step off a lot during this match. And it seemed like they weren't, they didn't have a feel for the size of the ring. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just thought no, that was, that ref bump when Hotbody hit the corner, and you know how they do a spot where you hit the corner hard and you come running out for the clothesline and the guy's there, and the referee's right behind him. The referee wasn't right behind him. Like, and he had to make kind of a left to like hit him. Like, it wasn't like he was behind him like a step and he accidentally hit him. He had to kind of like I said, make a left,
do a little jog. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, you had to turn to hit him still. Oh boy. And then I wrote, wow, what a promo from Glenn Osborne after. What the fuck?
And fucking Osborne goes over Hotbody because Tommy Cairo gets involved. And the other thing that to me, just as a fan, I thought this match went like way too long. Like,
I think everything we've seen so far has went way too long. No, I don't mean that like I'm shitting on it. Like, after we talk about some of the other matches that were on here, I think all this went way too long. You could have cut this down to
like 30 minutes.
These matches to like highlights or video packages or whatever. But nobody really needs to see Johnny Hotbody and Glenn Osborne for like 12 minutes. Come on.
This was bad.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I like both guys, whatever. That's my Chris Clow match of the week. And you don't know Chris Clow, he's a friend of mine, but he's a terrible, terrible worker. And every time I can shit on him, I do. And I forgot to shit on him last week. So that's my Chris Clow match of the week. That was bad.
I like Johnny Hotbody as a heel. I'm not a big fan of Glenn Osborne at all. Like, as soon as this guy is off the TV, it's better for everybody, in my opinion.
The funny thing about Glenn Osborne is when I used to see him in the in the magazines in the early 90s, like the PWI 500s, or when they do, just
thought he was cool.
Yeah, he looked cool in the magazines, and then when you saw him for real, it was like, yeah, not so much. Good job, Bill Apter.
Yeah, right. I mean, I didn't have anything off the charts with him as far as a match. I mean, I never had a problem with him personally, but I mean, just for him to be like telling me to lighten up on an arm drag when I'm 180 pounds and he's Glenn Osborne, the madman from the Badlands, I don't know. Fuck.
And like you said, that promo after the match was fucking abysmal. That was terrible.
It was terrible.
It's every Northeast indie guy's promo. I mean, the only thing that could have made it any worse was he would have yelled "baby." Yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve in any promo. Like I've actually made it a point to never ever say the word "baby" in a promo, because it just sounds so jabroni.
Baby and daddy.
Yeah, daddy. No, I don't know. I mean, it depends on where you're at. In the South, you can be, daddy will work.
But no, that promo at the end, and then he's like, yeah, that Glenn Osborne promo was fucking terrible. Two
guys in the audience popped, and they were fucking hammered.
Everybody about Glenn, everything about, to me, and I know you said he was like a good worker or whatever. But everything to me about Glenn Osborne is just terrible.
Okay. I mean, I'm not here to change your mind.
I understand that, but I'm just, and you're not going to, because that guy is a fucking train wreck, man.
Well, now
I only worked him once. I mean, I've been in the locker room with him, tons of times, and talked to him, but I just never had to work him but one time, and I was just like, that wasn't the greatest experience I've ever had.
It's like T-Rex arms, and a giant baby head.
Not everybody has good chemistry together. You know what I mean? It's not his fault. It's not my fault.
Now we get to the moment that you alluded to when we started the show, Chad, the Chris Michaels match.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got Larry
Winters and the Tony the Hitman Stetson versus the Samoan Warrior and Chris Michaels. And apparently, Larry Winters and Tony Stetson are the number one contenders.
Oh, yeah.
And the Samoan Warrior and Chris Michaels don't even get a fucking introduction on TV. They're just out there.
And the Samoan Warrior looks like he just showed up and they put some underwear on him and told him to go out and do his best.
I have a feeling that we've used him before in Maryland.
Samoan Warrior?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I think he's has some lineage. I mean, apparently Alpha and Sika were the Adam and Eve of the Samoan family because everybody gets traced back. Every single Samoan gets traced back to Alpha and Sika. Who is the female? And Chris Michaels. Chris Michaels, I don't know what it is about him. There was just something about his work and his look that interests me. Like, he could be like a good manager kind of guy. And I think he was either gone before I got there, or maybe I was there for one show that he was on, but he wasn't there much longer. But he stuck out to me. But Larry Winters and Tony Stetson probably didn't stick out to me.
Like, okay, I'm gonna say this. Like, and like I said, I'm obviously not a wrestler. I'm a fat schlub. But fucking Chris Michaels does a spot in the match that seems completely out of place, where he skins the cat. Like he goes into the ropes, chest first, and flips over, and it makes absolutely no sense. And then he attempts to skin the cat, but he doesn't even fucking do it properly.
Yeah, I have it written on my paper. I wrote the skin the cat spot because
it was fucking terrible.
If you caught that, because that was clearly after the neck breaker spot, where Hot Body threw the dude in, and Stetson or Hot Body punches him in the stomach, and he bends over, and Stetson comes in for the neck breaker, but Chris Michaels completely went the other way, like with the bump. You know how this Bobby Eaton spot is, where you do that punch to the gut neck breaker spot?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris Michaels went the other way. So he totally jumped out at Tony Stetson's arms. But then I wrote skin the cat spot. Oh boy.
What the fuck was that thing? Like, what was Chris Michaels doing? Like, it made absolutely no sense.
How did they get them guys to go along with that? Like, get the fuck out of here.
And everybody's just looking at him like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
And then somehow right after that, I just had the word shitty clothesline. Like, pretty much everybody in ECW at the time. Could anybody in that company throw a fucking clothesline? Like, that's bullshit. Like, oh no, wait a minute. We're not gonna making a nobody knows how to throw a good clothesline. They throw that stiff arm, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they kind of what's stupid? Like, watch Stan Hansen take somebody's head off. You know, watch a guy who knows how to throw a clothesline. These clotheslines are terrible. And then at some point there was a Tony Stetson and Larry Winters interview where Terry Funk makes
butchered the Jefferson's theme.
Yeah,
Jefferson's reference.
In my notes, it says Terry Funk interviews Stetson and Winters and fucks up the Jefferson's theme.
Jefferson, they're moving on up. That's what I got. I wrote. It says Winters Stetson over / Funk makes a Jefferson's reference.
That doesn't even get it right.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? And then all of a sudden, Mr. Breath himself.
Yeah.
And why was Hunter Q. Robbins the third comparing these two guys to the Simpsons? He's like,
Bart it's Simpson. Like he called Larry Winters and fucking.
I also have that written
called
down.
Larry Winters and Tony Stetson, Bart Simpson, and your stupid dad Homer.
I actually have it written down too. I said Hunter made a Simpsons joke.
It's like, what the fuck is happening? This makes absolutely no sense. And then the Super Ds come out, and they at least the Super Ds look fucking presentable,
credible. I mean, probably besides Funk and Gilbert, who are in non-really working capacities, they look the most credible of talent as far as what I've seen on the show so far.
And they look like a team.
Yeah, that I'm sorry, I hate to go back to it, but that Hunter Q. Robbins Simpsons thing, I was like, where did this come from? Is this an inside joke?
You look like Bart Simpson and his stupid retarded father, or whatever he says.
And Larry Winters obviously looks like the older of the two, so wouldn't he be Homer? I mean, if we're going to go with your joke all the way, Hunter.
Oh, poor Hunter.
He's just shit-talking because of his halitosis.
Wow. Well, what about the next match? It was a barn burner.
Oof. Well, first of all, we get the Sandman promo with lots of the word "yeah." That's what I see
with Terry Funk. We got Terry Funk, and he's dressed like an early '90s divorced dad at a local bar.
It's like he works at Roadhouse.
Yeah, like he's like, hey,
he loves Brooks and Dunn.
My wife just left me. I'm looking for like a 18-year-old girl. I'm gonna.
He's gonna boot scoot boogie. Yes.
Yeah. He looks like an early '90s dad that's just looking to just prey on an innocent woman.
You know, I got a question because I didn't catch it. I actually turned my head. Where did they announce the Sandman as being billed? Like, it was from somewhere in California, but I don't remember what they said it was.
Was it Oceanside? It might be Oceanside. I'd have to go back and look again.
Because I'm just thinking, like, when he was cutting that promo and he had that New Jersey, Philadelphia accent, and I was like, where the fuck are they billing the Sandman?
He's got that crew cut and that little fucking
Sandman
suit on it. Oh.
Sandman's like from a Columbus, Ohio.
It is Oceanside.
Is it
Oceanside, California?
He's like
Oceanside, California.
He's like, he's from Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, that's yeah.
And at this point, the interview was going like whatever the match was going so bad. I kept noticing that stupid looking high school looking ECW banner is in the background.
Yeah.
They can't find it.
And Terry Funk like looks at Sandman and goes, "Tell me all the great things you did for the kids."
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know what Sandman did to the kids.
Well, that's actually a shoot, honestly. Like, because Todd Gordon was big with the Special Olympics, and then doing like them shows, for the the handicapped kids and stuff like that. And Sandman was always on them and always volunteered his time. So, like, there's a lot of shows that nobody has on tape or seen from Todd Gordon that he ran for these charities.
Okay.
So that's actually kind of a shoot. I mean, everybody can think a hack for what they want to think a hack as, but it's a fact that, yeah, he did do shit for charities.
Well, that's cool, and I understand that, but like when Terry Funk was like, "Oh, Sandman, tell me what you did for the kids," I was looking at the front row, and the front row of the fans, I was like, man, this is in a high school gym, and a lot of the front row fans shouldn't probably even be in a gym, let alone around high school or junior school children, is what they look like to me. like Hat Man. Should he be around?
Yeah, I made a note about him. I made a note about him going, "God damn, fucking like Hawaiian shirt guy or a hat guy or whatever." Like, dude, God, how long I've seen that guy just be there forever. All them guys.
See, well, okay, this is another note I have, and before we jump ahead too much, I want to ask this, Chad. There's two guys on this show that are staples of it, and it might be people that don't get talked about a lot, and I wanted to see if you had any stories about them, and it's John Finnegan and Jim Malero, the referees. Those guys were there the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any stories about the refs? And because to me, like, a referee is like an unsung hero in wrestling, and they don't get talked about. And John Finnegan and Jim Malero, they were in ECW from obviously now the start until the end. And I didn't know if you had any stories.
No, I mean, I don't have any road stories with them. And here's the good thing about it. If I don't have anything to tell you about them, then they didn't do anything fucking wrong.
They were good guys.
Yeah, and they were good guys. Like, you could talk, you hang out, like, because I guess I'm assuming they were local guys, Philadelphia guys, because I would drive home most of the time unless it was a weekend shot thing. So I would drive home so I wouldn't hang out at the hotels. But yeah, I guess they were Philly guys. But yeah, I mean, they were just regular guys. They were totally cool. And if I don't have anything to tell you about them, then that's probably the best thing to tell you about them.
Okay. But all right, I was just trying to get at the fact that, like, in a match, like, the ref is
in ECW. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I was just trying to get some referee stories. That's okay.
I mean, in ECW, a referee. I mean,
he was just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, he's just counting to three.
I was gonna say he's there for the illusion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does anybody know anything about the ferocious Kodiak Bear?
Well, I worked those shows with him. I don't know anything really about him, but I know he's one of them Jersey guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talked about, like, the hot bodies, Stetsons. He was the who was he with? Who did he work? Oh, Sandman.
Yeah.
Oh boy. What I write about this one?
That was the ECW title match.
I wrote. Well, apparently there was a clothesline that was bad again. Another one, and then I wrote at one point. I wrote, boy, this show is a doozy.
It sure is.
Right after that.
This was another match that could have been at least 75% shorter.
Well, Terry Funk even mentioned it. He said how Kodiak Bear was trying to feel out the champion and see how long he could go. I'm like, no, we don't want to see how long you can go. Fuck it, how long could we have TV time for?
The Kodiak Bear is not money. I'm sorry, he's just not money.
Yeah, pretty much. Good God. We got something coming up after this.
And I don't know.
I love the fact that I have this show as a doozy written on there.
I don't know what I wrote this down. What song did Terry randomly sing on commentary? Who? Terry Funk randomly sang a song. I should have wrote the song down. He was randomly singing a song on. Did you catch it, Aaron?
No.
Damn. I can't. I don't know why I didn't write the song down, but during commentary on this, Terry was just randomly singing like some 50s song. I'm gonna have to go back.
I know that during this match, they were talking about how Peaches and Tiger were like the hottest things in the world. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, it is Philly.
If this is your equivalent of like hot chicks, it's like we're.
Oh, wasn't Peaches Sandman's wife?
Yeah.
Like legit, right? Wife?
Yeah.
I kind of got it confused. I wasn't sure if she was or not. But yeah, I got you. But Tiger, I don't know shit about.
She wasn't. But basically, they were trying to sell like Peaches and Tiger as being like these like super hot divas or whatever in the ECW, and it was pretty rough.
Nobody was buying it. I certainly wasn't buying a ticket to the ECW arena to see Peaches or Tiger, so I can tell you that.
And I don't understand. Yeah. I didn't even understand why. What was it? Is it Tigra or Tigress?
I think it's Tigress because there's a Latino community there, and I think that's kind of Spanish or something.
Because I didn't even understand when the match started why she was randomly just walking out around ringside. I was like, is she there with the Kodiak Bear? Like, what's going on here? Is that her?
They were basically Peaches and Tigress were taking jackets and shit. That was their job, and they were trying to sell them as being like.
Yeah, that to me was just like, come on, just. Get on with this. I mean, because what was the next thing? Wasn't it the
next thing is the Eddie Gilbert JT Smith match?
Yeah, all right. I had to change my notes, my pages because all I wrote was okay Gilbert versus JT Smith, and I wrote not awful.
Yeah,
that's what I put. It's like I put tournament match Eddie Gilbert versus JT Smith. Finally, something good.
Yeah,
like I think these guys are gonna have a good match. JT Smith, I think, is a good worker. Eddie Gilbert obviously was fantastic. And these guys are actually going to put something out there that's going to be worth watching.
I'm a big, huge fan of JT Smith. Mm-hmm. I just feel so bad when he tries to do high-risk maneuvers.
Yeah,
he just falls on his face.
They never pan out for him, right? and literally, I'm like, he's trying his best. He's a great athlete, but yeah, he's just he fucks moonsaults up.
So do you think that because I was going to ask you if you had any stories about him, but my first question, I guess, now that we brought that up, is do you think that at some point that became a work?
Thank you.
As opposed to reality. You know what I mean?
Well, of course it was. Yeah. I mean, that's what, when you see the people wanted to fucking chant at JT that he fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, yeah, but you didn't have to say that years before they made it a deal. You could see him do stupid shit. That Mike Awesome thing will live in infamy. I was in the locker room with that thing happened. And if you would have seen everybody in that locker room, I couldn't even tell you names because it was everybody.
Were they grimaced or whatever? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dude, we all ran to the monitor. We were sitting in chairs, and then when we saw it, we all just kind of like ran up to the monitor and be like, "What the fuck is this? You know, is he okay?" And then when the referee's like, "Hey, he's all right," we're like, "How the fuck is this guy okay?" He was bent in half, backwards.
In half.
Yeah, it looked like he
has like an exoskeleton or whatever. It's like it's fucking insane. And
pretty much the only thing I wrote about that match was that it was not awful, and I said that old finish, that Morocco and Tito whatever gimmick, whatever. That was kind of what it was.
It was definitely the best thing on this show.
And I think JT Smith, in my opinion, is underrated. Like I think the guy could have, like, I don't know, maybe done something in like a WWF or WCW, and
I don't know, man. He was pretty fucking clumsy, and that's not even like me like making fun of him kind of thing. He was a liability,
but like a personality wise.
Oh no, he could be an agent. Oh, he could be an agent or do anything like like you said, personality wise.
Yeah, like a manager or something like that. Like when he was like when he became like Italian or whatever, like the FBI deal. He was entertaining as shit.
That's what I was about to say. You probably could have slapped him into a Santino Marella like role, like where he's the
like a goofy fucker.
The goofy jagoff that's hanging out with a diva or something, for comic relief.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I totally believe that, but just him on the top rope shouldn't be it really shouldn't be seen. That's not good for anybody. But wait a minute, after that match, who do we get next? Another champion? Is it another tournament match?
No, that one was a tournament match.
This is just the main event. This is the main event
with no intros. We just come.
So in progress, I wrote.
We come into a cold. We come in cold to a match. Tommy Cairo and the Super Ninja.
Yeah, who the fuck was that guy?
I wrote. I have no idea who Ninja is.
It might have just been one of the Super Ds with a different outfit on, maybe.
No, this guy was smaller. This guy was way smaller, and I had a feeling you guys were going to ask me who the Ninja was. So I literally wrote like, I have no idea who that was.
Yeah, I put Super Ninja. Ask Chad, who the fuck was the Super Ninja?
But there was all I wrote that it was joined in progress, and there was a spin kick spot.
Well, I loved how
Tommy hit a good spin kick.
He did. I loved how the announcers, like the Super Ninja guy, is just doing regular like this little chops and stuff, and they're calling it martial arts, or like he's just doing a regular kick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many ninjas but the ones that I know, they do all that shit.
I only know 6 or 7. I only know 6 or 7, but they're retired.
The worst white ninja ever.
Who are these white ninjas?
Like Al Snow as Shinobi.
And Hotbody gets involved, and in the end of this match, like Johnny Hotbody tries to get involved, but this is the most ineffective guy attempting to get involved in a match I've ever seen. Like, he tries to get involved and fuck the finish, but the finish still happens. Like, Tommy Cairo still wins his match, and then fucking Hotbody still gets his ass beat. Like, Johnny Hotbody was the most ineffective interferer in the history of wrestling at this moment. It's like, you didn't end the finish because Cairo still won, and then you get your ass beat to the back. It was terrible.
Wasn't there a ref bump in that match?
They attempted it, and it was terrible.
I mean, yeah, that match was ridiculous. I mean, it was completely ridiculous, and the whole entire finish. The next thing I wrote was the go home promo from Funk was all over the place. Because I just couldn't.
Him and Ty Gordon.
Yeah. Who does Ty Gordon think he is out there? Who's the guy that does the jewelry thing in Philadelphia? I hate Steven Singer. Like, that's what he's coming across like on TV. He's like, I hate Steven Singer guy. Terrible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your opinion of this whole entire show was, but I can. If I had to give him, I don't know, what do you do? A 1 through 5 or 1 through 10?
Yeah, one out of I put. I mean, to be honest with you, out of 10, I have it as a 4, and that's mainly because there were things in it that made me laugh, and I liked the Eddie Gilbert JT Smith match.
Okay,
I gave this show like a -4.
I give it a
like this show.
Yeah, that show stunk.
This show was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
Like
it was so bad to the point where I'm actually glad that I didn't use the paper that's in my notebook to write down the notes on it. I used my wife's paper from her notebook to write it down on, because I don't want this to ever resurface in my life again. That I watched this show.
Like, this was a really fucking rough show, and if you're gonna go off the first show we watched, which is really good, and then you're gonna go off of this one, it's like, man, why would I want to watch it again?
And just as an example, last week we spent close to an hour talking about that show, and this show we've gone 36 minutes and we're already done because there wasn't a lot to rave about this show.
No, there wasn't. There was a lot of Glenn Osborne. I'll tell you that.
The giant midget.
If you're into that kind of stuff, and that's the kind of stuff you like, I mean.
So this is April. We're talking probably 6 months before these guys all start fading away. I think probably like maybe around October-ish.
I'd say, yeah, it is October.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that's when Paulie kind of comes in full time and starts doing the whole manipulating thing. I'm pretty sure that's about accurate. Because I think Ultra Clash, like I said, Ultra Clash, I think is the show where it's Paul's first show. Because I think it's Eddie's last show.
Mm-hmm.
And they do like the baseball match or whatever.
No, I don't know. I mean, it was just literally behind the scenes shit. It was Eddie's last show. Like, Paul took over, you're gone. And yeah, I mean, it was like when Public Enemy debuted, and I think it was they had the Stan Hansen and shit like that. Oh, it was crazy, man, back then.
So they go off the air, and then it's funny because I didn't know. Last week I didn't watch the credits. This week I didn't watch them, but they were there while I was finishing up my notes, and I look up, and it answered my question. It says sound Stevie Wonderful. So I Googled all this crap to find out that Stevie Wonderful was the sound guy, and I should have just watched the fucking credits, because then I would.
It's funny you said that, because I don't watch the credits either, because I always know that it's always Thomas Edward, whatever, I know how it is. But then when I saw it was Matt Radico was like a producer on the show, do you know who he is?
Well, I don't really. He is mentioned in that article that I read, though, that I found to find out who Stevie Wonderful was. He's mentioned in there. He was
Radico. Is that what you said?
He was
Matt. It's Radico.
He was a business partner of Gordon, wasn't he?
Well, I knew he owned like a lot of the tapes. Like, I don't know if he was part of the production part of it. That's what I don't know. I just know the name from, like, every time I see like a producer thing and I see Matt Radico, and then when Paul, like, I don't want to say he defaulted, but when he had that split with the original, the first people that owned like the old stuff,
right?
Like, they held them tapes up to Paul for money. And I remember, I think Matt Radico's name was brought up because I think Paul owed them money from studio production, costs.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, damn, I ain't heard Matt Radico's name in ages.
Yeah, like I said, I remember seeing that name in the article that I read. So, yeah, he was definitely somewhere in there.
My favorite credit name isn't even an ECW thing. It's fucking NWA. My favorite credit name is Bill Dickey.
Bill Dickey?
Bill Dickey.
Phil Dickey.
Yeah. He's on the end of every fucking NWA fucking worldwide or any.
He was a rib?
Possibly. But yeah, it's like at the end of every like WCW fucking worldwide or fucking show, it says camera Phil Dickey. It cracks me up.
Phil Dickey should be a grip. Let's be honest.
Right. I remember when I worked. What did I work? Maybe it was Smoky Mountain, or maybe it was WCW, and I came across Rip Rogers,
who hates Aaron, by the way.
Huh?
Rip Rogers hates Aaron.
Oh wow. He didn't like me either. Honestly. Like I get in the locker room and he looks at me because of my size, and he goes, what are you here for? What are you, a production grip? Or so, I go, no, I ain't a best boy. I'm not a dolly. And I must have ran down 7 names of jobs that I knew about from working on entertainment platforms. And he looked at me and he goes, I think I'm going to like you. because I knew what he was talking about. He was just trying to shut me up. And I was like, no, I'm not none of these things.
You shut up, Rip Rogers.
Oh, dude. And the best part was the whole entire time in WCW, none of these people worked all week. As Watley, Rip Rogers, Buddy Lee Parker, I don't know. Name all them guys that you don't see on TV that were around that time. They all signed in every night to get their money.
See, like, one of my favorite things like Rip Rogers ever did was Rip Rogers, like, when he was in Smoky Mountain, he did that fucking deal where he was going to squat.
Oh, yeah, the Hindu?
Yeah, when he was going to do the Hindu squats, and through the whole episode, he's like doing the fucking Hindu squats. Like, that was good shit to me. I think Rip Rogers.
That guy's legitimate, man.
Yeah.
Them Hindu squats, he's really doing them.
and
Same with Backlund. Backlund did them all.
Yeah. Like, one of my. I'm not obviously, like I said this before, like, I'm not a wrestler. Like, one of my favorite things, like, a wrestler ever heard was fucking Kevin Nash talked about how he was in a hotel room and he heard like all night
pounding on the fucking wall. Boom, boom, boom. And he just heard something pounding. And he was like, oh, who's this guy in this fucking room next to me? And he thought it was, and he found out it was Bob Backlund. And he thought Bob Backlund was just like
killing some broad.
Yeah, he thought Bob Backlund was just like pounding this chick all night. And it turned out it was just Bob Backlund doing fucking squats and shit in the room. Like, I thought that was a great story. When he's like, oh, Bob's in the next room while Bob's getting it. It's like, no, Bob's just doing Hindu squats.
And I'll tell you what, Bob Backlund is one of the coolest wrestlers I've ever met in person. Like, he was so cool to meet, and he wouldn't let me leave. Like, he signed a magazine for me that had him and Patera on the cover, and I said, thank you, sir, shook his hand, and I went to leave, and he kind of grabbed me by the shoulder, and he spent 10 minutes talking with me, just really down to earth, really nice guy. He
kind of freaked me out with the same exact reaction that you just said.
Really?
About the wouldn't let me leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were on a show together. We were on a couple shows together. I mean, mostly in the Northeast, like Jersey, like for the Bad Crew and them guys. They're great guys. They always ran really good shows, respectable. Mm-hmm. And we're on the show, and I meet Backlund, and I'm not sure. It wasn't the first time because I met him when I was a kid, but I mean, you haven't seen him in years or whatever. And I see him, and you're talking to him, and all of a sudden he starts asking you questions like where are you going when you leave here? And I go, I think I had somewhere to go the next day, like another show, and I think he was booked on the same show. And he was like, well, I was just wondering, young man, would you like to travel together? And I literally was like, I don't think so, dude. You know what I mean? Like this whole entire conversation.
You give me a vibe here, Mr. Backlund.
Yeah, we're changing clothes in a kitchen of a VFW fucking hall, and I'm half naked. You're standing there half, and you're asking me where I'm going later. If I want to travel with you, do you mind if I come with you? I literally just went. That was like, that was the biggest vibe that I've ever gotten. Like from somebody, and I didn't like it because he was my favorite. I guess he was for a minute when I was a kid. My favorite wrestler when I was a kid. He was the first autograph I've ever gotten. But I mean, for him to be like, "Hey, little boy,
would you like to jump in the car?
You want to go for a ride?" Jesus, you ever been booked in Jersey?
Do you like gladiator movies?
Do you like gladiator movies? It's like, am I on airplane? What the fuck is going on?
Have you ever seen a Turkish bath?
You ever seen a grown man naked? That type of thing. Like,
so I think at the end of the day, we can all agree that this fucking ECW show was not a stellar.
This show was terrible. I just threw my notes in the yard.
What do you think? What do you think they could have done to make it better? Like, I mean,
shorter footage of the matches. Number one.
Agreed. Yes.
Like I said, every one of the matches except Eddie and JT could have gotten 75% of the TV time they got, and.
Glenn Osborne.
Glenn Osborne.
See, I'm wondering where this actual show is as far as when the taping was done. What is this the last?
I feel honestly that the show that we just watched was a show that was recorded before the first show. Like,
you think?
Yeah. I feel like it was they put these guys out there at the beginning of it, and it wasn't great before it, and then they put this out after they got some fucking video, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I mean, I actually take the opposite route. I think this is probably the end of the weekend tapings. Like what was left. That's what that's what I think. But yeah, you could be right.
This goddamn show was rough, man. It was rough.
Well, to sum up what we're all going to be watching next week for April 20th, 93, I'll just read the description from WWE Network. On this edition of Eastern Championship Wrestling, the ECW television title tournament continues with Jimmy Snuka taking on Tommy Cairo and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert battling Glenn Osborne. Plus, the Rockin' Rebel looks to shake the Sandman's tree.
The goddamn Rockin' Rebel. The Rockin' Rebel is the shit, man.
The Super Destroyers defend the ECW Tag Team Championship. So that's what we've got coming up next week.
Well, I'm gonna honestly, guys, I want to enjoy me some Rockin' Rebel. I think Rockin' Rebel. I like Rockin' Rebel.
I've always liked Rockin' Rebel.
Yeah, Rockin' Rebel is fantastic. He's a great heel.
This show is coming up this week is a dandy. I'm going to have my wife go to the store and get an extra bigger box of microwave popcorn because I can't wait to sit there and watch the 38 minutes of what this is going to be.
Extra butter.
Cairo and Jimmy Snuka. Oh wow!
Next week's going to be the extra buttery edition. Of
the, boy! Like I said, Snuka and Tommy Cairo. That is going to be fucking. That's going to be off the fucking something. Oh jeez! You said it was going to be Rockin' Rebel against the Sandman?
No, No, it just says Rockin' Rebel is trying to shake the Sandman's tree. So I don't know what that means, but we'll see what that's.
Well, WWE Network ain't gonna give you anything with Rockin' Rebel just because how they feel about him. But I think.
Well, let's see how they handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know the lineup and we're talking about it, let's see how they handle it. And then talk about it then.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you should not. I mean, the guy did the shit. You know what I mean? He actually performed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because whatever he did doesn't mean that you should not show whatever he did before he did it.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the WWE is, and I'm not trying to. Nate, are you not recording right now?
No, I'm recording.
Well, I'm just not trying to say that. Like, when we talk about Rock and Rebel, I know for a fact that they, on the WWE Network, give him the same treatment that.
Well, they do mention him in this description, though. They don't. It's not like Benoit where they scratch his name.
Yeah, but they don't let you click on shit.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Isn't Benoit being softly back?
Yeah, they've introduced him back into like videos, like if it's a Hall of Fame video or something like that. They don't expressly mention him, but there's no more, just he never existed. I guess.
I mean, nobody's going on the WWE Network and going in the search bar and typing in Rock and Rebel.
Right.
I mean, come on.
I mean,
you don't have to worry about
it. I'm a freak. I'm just saying. I kind of do that. I want to watch Rock and Rebel. I think Rock and Rebel, to me, I think Rock and Rebel should have been a bigger fucking star than he was, man. I really do.
So do I. It's his attitude. Didn't we already talk about this?
Yeah. And I know
we're going to make that case every goddamn week.
I'm going to make that case every goddamn day until he's not on fucking ECW. I think the Rock and Rebel could have been a great goddamn heel in the WWE, WWF in like 95.
Ooh, you're taking big steps here. Whoa, I don't know about all that.
I think it would have been great. I think the guy cut great promos. He put out enough of a cocky dickhead heel type persona that he could have been something in that era. I think it would have been great.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but what he should have done, in my opinion, is he should have left Philadelphia and he should have went and worked Memphis. He should have worked whatever territories were around in the earliest part of his career. Mm-hmm. That way he would have got some sort of a structure, you know what I mean? An education as far as this is what the business is kind of thing, because he had an attitude. Chuck had an attitude. If he didn't want to do business, he didn't want to do business. But if somebody would have showed him, back when he was a younger dude, it may have ended differently. Because, he would have been great in Memphis, Smoky Mountain, maybe Portland even. Portland, Jesus. Well, never mind. He wouldn't have gotten any better in Portland. Not
at that point. No.
Yeah, not at that point.
But no, I mean, that guy could have been a great fucking heel.
He could have been. Because he's a dick. He's a dick. He was a dick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was a natural fucking prick. And it would have been great. In my opinion.
I agree. I mean, and he had a great body. And he's another one of them guys where I consider him a bought show guy. If you have a bought show, he's a guy that looks great on your show. He's in fantastic shape, he's heavy, he's 250 pounds, he looks great, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows who he is. He's not terrible,
But he looks like a wrestler, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
The Rock and Rebel is super underrated.
Aaron has made his case for this week for Rock and Rebel. And with that, we are going to wrap up, unless you guys have anything else on this show.
Rock and Rebel for life.
I've had enough about kissing Rock and Rebel's ass. Because, I love Chuck, dude. I know all that shit was bad, but Chuck was always good to me, man. That's all I can go by.
Another 2300 pod in the books, and for those of you who have not yet or Do listen, just so you know, this week coming up also on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, we are going to be discussing WCW Clash of Champions New York Knockout. That's right. 5 letters, 2 words, I Quit. Ric Flair and Terry Funk in the I Quit match. We're going to be talking about that this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, so check that out. And, of course, next week, April 20th, 1993, we will be talking about that episode of ECW. Chad, I'm looking forward to continuing this journey.
Well, I'm looking forward to these shows getting better.
Yes, sir.
Good fucking God.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the 2300 pod, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Salute.